Hey there, Brian. We got the cylinder head off, and here's the baby that we've been going after. And indeed, when we look inside the actual where the valves are, you can see they have really been, there's a valve there, and there's the backside of a valve there, and they have really been chewing up the oil itself. There's a valve. There's number 3 cylinder and then number 4. They are extremely coked up with oil deposits, carbon deposits, which is probably to be expected. You know, this thing's been using a lot of oil. And then when we take and I actually checked the valve guides here, what we're looking for is not only the misfire that's going to be fixed, which is the valves themselves, but you know, what has been the source of this oil consumption. And when I wiggle this, lot of movement. You see that movement there? That's a lot of valve guide movement. So the valve guides, that's the things that the valves go up and down inside. When they wear out, they actually let the oil that's laden inside here, this is where I mean to say is inside the valve cover itself, it let them suck into the engine itself. So this is no doubt where I'm going to say some, if not all, of the oil has been consuming. Now, other things that would cause oil consumption are the actual piston rings. So we go over here, got this covered up for safekeeping. Now I can get a little bit of movement here on the piston itself. So I can't say definitively that all your oil consumption is going to be gone, short of actually taking the pistons out and putting new rings on the pistons. But I can say a significant amount is going down the valve guides themselves. They're obviously worn out, and the backs of the valves have a lot of carbon deposit from burned oil. On the piston rings, if we didn't ring the engine, and just looking inside the cylinder walls themselves, I don't see any evidence of scoring. Then what I would do is I would pour a carbon solution cleaner inside here and let it dissolve in the pistons. I'm thinking maybe if the piston rings are a little sticky, the hope is that putting the solution in there will unstick them. It'll basically burn away the carbon deposits from the piston rings, letting it soak while the engine's disassembled. But I just have to tell you, you know, there are cases where piston rings were problematic. So in retrospect, in terms of problems found, there's a big problem, if not all the problem. If you want 100% guarantee you don't want any oil consumption at all, then the only choice would be to go ahead and pull the pistons out and put rings in the pistons. I am not going to estimate that part of it right now. I'm going to send you an estimate for the valve guides, rebuilding the head, replacing the burned valves, and any other valves that are damaged as the machine shop finds. And I'm going to have to do a ballpark because I won't know exactly until they get it. Making sure the head's not cracked. They're going to pressure check it. They'll clean it all up. New valve guides, new valve seals, and then as many new valves as needed. Other stuff here, the timing chain you had mentioned. I mean, timing chains do wear out on these cars and they do break. So I will send an estimate for the timing chain if you want to do it now. And again, these are going to kind of be ballpark estimates on engine repairs. You just don't ever know exactly till you get in there, but I'm going to try to get it as close as possible. Now, other places that oil could be used, the turbocharger. I don't know if you remember, we talked about it. And here's the turbocharger itself. I've got it off. But as I look inside the turbocharger itself, I don't see a lot of deposits there. And I've actually checked the turbo itself for any slop, that is any wear. Feels good and tight. So I think we're using a negligible amount, if any, of oil there. Majority of the lion's share of the oil is being used there. Possibly some the rings themselves. Now, one other thing I noticed after we got the head off, you've got some coolant that's been leaking on water pipes. You see all this crusty stuff here? So we're going to need to do some replumbing there, and then even way down in here, there's some crusty stuff. I don't know if you can see if it'll focus. You see that crusty stuff by that bolt? Yeah, there. So these housings need to kind of be gutted here and new seals put on it. Obviously, you don't want this crusty leak to turn into a bigger leak later on and have to redo all this work. So you'll see on there a reseal water housings. There's one here and then there's one down below, and that's what that's going to reflect on the estimate. So recap one more time. I'm going to send a ballpark estimate for the water housings, resealing the water housings, for having the head rebuilt, and then for the timing chain and all the components, the guides, the chain, and the tensioners. And there's a couple gaskets and seals too that go along with it. Look it over and let me know if we can go ahead and proceed.